Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to take a look at the Desk Pro and the DX80, both of which I have right behind me here. We're going to look at the assertion that the Desk Pro is not a replacement to the DX80, that it's actually something a little bit more. Make sure that that's true. We're going to look at the DX80, talk a little bit about which unit you might want. Definitely going to cover a lot of the different features, both in common and contrasting. And finally, at the end, I'm going to give you my opinion as to, is this a replacement to the DX80? Let's dive in and check it out right now. Initially, I thought the Desk Pro was going to be substantially bigger. It has a 27-inch display versus the 23-inch display of the DX80, but as you can see on the units, the amount of space around the outside is actually substantially different. The DX80 has much more of a frame around the touch screen, so the Desk Pro can get a lot more screen real estate inside the form factor of the unit. Both are touch enabled. One thing to note though is that if you use the pen that comes with the WebEx board or with the Desk Pro, it works with the Desk Pro. So I can wake up the unit. It does not work with the DX80. So you have to use touch specifically with that endpoint. Another major difference is the camera. The camera on the Desk Pro is a 4K camera, whereas the camera on the DX80 is 1080p. Now the video stream from the unit is still going to be 1080p at the best, but that 4K camera on the Desk Pro allows it to crop the image and actually has some functionality where if you stand up or sit down, it will crop you in accordingly. One thing favorable for the DX80, however, is the tilt camera, so that you can actually tilt it down and view documents that may be laying on the table. I've personally have done that maybe once or twice in the years that I've used the DX80, but in some use cases that might be important to you. Probably my favorite functionality of the camera on the Desk Pro is the ability to do custom backgrounds and background blur and those types of things. That is exclusive to the Desk Pro at this point, and it's definitely not coming to the DX80 just because it doesn't have the compute power or the specialized hardware to do that type of thing. Both have a shutter on the camera, so the shutter of the DX80 camera can be closed, and there's a sliding shutter on the Desk Pro for privacy reasons. The next thing to talk about is the mute and volume buttons on the endpoints. On the DX80, they're actually right on the side. They can be a little bit tricky to find if you don't know where they are. Once you use the endpoint, of course, you're a pro, but they are on the side here. The power button is on the front. On the Desk Pro, the audio up and down buttons are on the front. The mute button is actually right next to it, and it actually lights up when you're in a call. Very easy to find. The tricky thing with power on the Desk Pro is it's on the back on the right hand side as you face the unit. In terms of customization, you can write custom macros and applications on both of these units. However, it's important to know that only the Desk Pro supports web applications. This can be helpful for things like streaming, like a streaming application or something of that nature. O365, anything that really runs in a browser can be ran on the Desk Pro inside of a web application. Another thing to note is Microsoft CVI integration on the Cisco platform will work on both of these. When it is a SIP call, the browser-based functionality will only work on the Desk Pro. Because it uses browser functionality as well, the Desk Pro is the only unit that will work with AppSpace or other digital signage applications. I should note that the DX80, there is sort of a workaround to use AppSpace specifically, but it's definitely not as robust as the Desk Pro. From a screen sharing perspective, both endpoints have an HDMI input. The Desk Pro, however, also has a USB-C display input. This same display input will also do touch redirect and a number of other functions such as charging, device charging, right from that same cable, which is pretty convenient. The only gotcha is if you have a little bit older laptop and you don't have USB-C, or your laptop has USB-C but it doesn't support display, it can be a little bit of a gotcha. Of course, pull out the HDMI cable and you should be good to go there. It's probably also worth mentioning that both units support Bluetooth headsets like the Cisco 730 headset that I have here. However, the DX80 and the Desk Pro have different series of Bluetooth radios, so the Desk Pro is going to give you the better audio experience, again, when using Bluetooth. Next, let's talk about licensing and registration. Both of these units can register to Cisco's WebEx Cloud. You provision it in Control Hub. I actually have another video that talks about how to do this. And it's very straightforward, very simple experience. Of course, statistics and analytics can be pulled through Control Hub as well. When registering these units to Unified Communications Manager, there is actually a difference from a licensing perspective. The Desk Pro requires a telepresence room license, while the DX80 actually works with a UCL enhanced or cool license. It's more of a personal device, whereas the Desk Pro is more of a huddle room type device. All right, so I just updated my workspace behind me. As you can tell, I'm a Desk Pro fan all the way. The DX80 though, excellent unit for power users, work from home users, folks that need video. Great personal unit from that perspective. If you need to go and build a huddle space for 1 or 2 people, if you need to have web applications, if you're going to do a ton of whiteboarding, even if you need some AI type capabilities, the Desk Pro is for you. There's a little bit of a cost difference, of course. Desk Pro is more expensive, so they're not necessarily the same. One is not a replacement for the other. You need to know your environment, look at the data sheets, understand the features and differences. Both are great units. If cost is not a concern, of course, Desk Pro all the way for those power users and executive users, both at home or in the office. If you have questions, comments, tips, or tricks, leave them in the video comment section below. If you're new here, hit that subscribe and notification button. As always, I want to thank you for watching. I hope to see you back sometime soon.